Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and a very happy St George's Day to you all. We meet here today on this, the 23rd of April 2019, to celebrate the Day of England, a day that we can celebrate our heritage, our traditions, and our proud English identity.
Hear, hear.
And we do so by very kind permission of the Right Honourable John Berkow, Mr Speaker. And John, I'd like to start by saying thank you to you, because we have worked together to promote this fine tradition over the last 10 years. And this is something that means so much to all of us here, but not only us, but to people across our nation who have pride in everything that is part of our English traditions and English heritage. And so we are proud to be here in Speaker's House, proud to be able to uphold all the great things that our country has given, not only to the whole of the UK, but to the wider world. The love of freedom, belief in democracy, belief in everyone being part of something greater. And that is what England is. It brings everybody together, regardless of their background and their heritage, their origins. We stand together, proudly loving our country and upholding all that is great about England. We're also good at slaying dragons. And St George gave a fine example of doing so. And there are, I know, many dragons who have to slay in the world today. But today is a day of celebration. And so I'd like to thank all of you, particularly the Royal Society of St George, for the work they do throughout the year in promoting the values of England and St George, the love of our country and the belief in the values that we all share. And I'm also delighted today to say a huge thank you to our very wonderful friends from Catalonia. I see Sergei's here. I see Arthur, the Foreign Minister of Catalonia, is here today. Very kindly sponsored today's event. And Catalonia and England share a lot in common. We love our countries, we believe in freedom, believe in democracy, and we also have St George as our patron saint. We share the same patron saint, so it could not be more appropriate to have this event today with our friends from Catalonia. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to say on all of your behalf, thank you to all those that have made today possible, but most especially, this day would not happen in Speaker's House without our Speaker, John Berkow. John and I have known each other for many years, more years than I care to remember. We have always been friends. We've always worked closely together on things that we feel passionate about, and this is one of those occasions. And so it is with great pride and enormous privilege today that I stand here before you and invite our Speaker, Mr John Berkow, to say a few words today on this St George's Day. Mr Speaker.
Andrew, thank you for the invitation to address you. One and all, welcome to Speaker's House. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming in large numbers, and thank you for coming, I'm sure, in celebratory mood on this auspicious and much anticipated fixture in our annual calendar. It's a very happy day, and as has just been referenced in passing by Andrew, ladies and gentlemen, this is the 10th successive year on which we have celebrated the event together in Speaker's House. I was mildly tickled by the momentary focus before Andrew spoke on whether the microphone was, or as the case may be, was not working. Because the question of whether it was or was not working seemed to be regarded as a relevant premise, a relevant qualifying condition for events to unfold. And I would argue, and argument is an important part of the democratic process, that in fact, well, there may have been a matter of academic interest to discover whether the microphone was working. in purely functional terms, it didn't matter, because as Andrew rightly says, we have known each other a long time. Specifically, if memory serves me correctly, we've known each other since 1982, when he was 16 and I was 19. And in all that time, I have to say, a concern on my part to help Andrew to overcome his natural shyness, a predominant concern of mine, or indeed of his. I can't readily, that is to say off the top of my head, think of a single occasion upon which Andrew has wanted to speak, but has felt diffident, tongue-tied, inarticulate, unable to string words together, or indeed to ensure that those words are heard. Most people, I think it's true to say, most of the time, tend to speak, if they speak in public, too softly. And that is because most people are not used to speaking in public, and therefore their natural disposition is to speak in a conversational way, whereas in fact in a large gathering, especially, but not only if the acoustics aren't great, you need to raise your voice. But I'm enormously amused on this occasion to make the point that I'm about to make, in the full knowledge that Ian Paisley Jr. is with us in Speaker's House, a keen supporter of this event and a good colleague of mine and a good friend also of Andrew's. And the point that I want to make to you relates to another occasion upon which the issue of the microphone was misguidedly placed centre stage. I'm thinking of an occasion in the European Parliament when Madame Veil, Simone Veil, was President of the Parliament, and Ian's late father, the Reverend Ian Paisley, was declaiming, orating, fulminating with force, eloquence and insistence at a considerable volume on the matter under discussion. Now, the late Dr. Paisley was very eloquent, and he was given to expressing himself fully. That is to say, he did not believe in being unduly brief. So he orated for a considerable period of time, at which point Simone Veil exhorted him to cease speaking, and he ignored her and carried on speaking. And Simone Veil then slightly more insistently said, Dr. Paisley, I must now ask you to bring your speech to a close, whereupon he continued to ignore her and to go on orating as he wished to develop his points more fully. And finally, in complete exasperation, and thinking she was carrying potency with the threat, she said, Dr. Paisley, for the last time, I must now instruct you to stop speaking. And if you do not, I warn you, I will switch off your microphone. And unfortunately, what Simone Veil didn't know, but we all knew, was that Ian Paisley Sr. without a microphone was very little different to Ian Paisley with a microphone. But anyway, you live and learn, and eventually Simone Veil learned. Andrew doesn't really need a microphone. He's always been the clearest of speakers. And I want to say, in an age in which there's a pervasive cynicism about politics and politicians, Andrew, to his enormous and enduring credit, as his constituents in Romford know and approve, is not given to sitting on the fence. He's not given to procrastinating. He's not given to ducking the question. He's one of those politicians whom I think people, and in particular his constituents, but people more widely admire, because he says what he means and means what he says. And he's got a clear view, and when you've heard him speak, you know what it is. And if you come back in a few weeks or a few months or even a few years' time, the overwhelming likelihood is that Andrew will be saying the same thing on that subject. So he's a fixed point of stellar consistency and dependability, not least from the vantage point of his constituents who elect and re-elect and re-elect and re-elect him. You know, I used to have a constituency chairman in Buckingham who, struck by the fact that I campaigned with some intensity in the Buckingham constituency in 1997, was moved to observe, to me and to other party workers, you know, I think John's long-term goal is to win the Buckingham constituency by unanimity. Well, this was perhaps a trifle ambitious. It was never seriously my intention. But I often think it is probably Andrew's intention to win the Romford constituency by unanimity. if you haven't seen Andrew Rosendale campaign, you haven't lived. He's one of those people who loves campaigning. He just loves campaigning. He loves knocking on doors. He loves talking to people. He loves the public meeting. He loves the joust with people who've got different ideas to his own. Although I don't think there are that many of those people in Romford, as he does tend to win very handsomely. But he's always been passionate about the United Kingdom and very particularly England within the UK. And this is a very long established event here. And I think it's great that it just keeps happening year after year after year. And do we not today owe a particular debt of gratitude, a salute of appreciation to the Royal Society of St George in this year, 2019, the year that marks, if memory serves me correctly, the 125th anniversary of the Society. It's got a wonderful lineage and track record, and people come together from their different walks of life in a spirit of solidarity and appreciation. And there is one other reason, by the way, why we continue to have this event here, and I know Andrew won't take it amiss if I say this. Andrew is nothing if not persistent. There are quite a lot of people like that in politics, but he's nothing if not persistent. And he will ask for an event, and if he gets an uncertain or an equivocal answer, he'll ask the question again, and then he'll feel like we've just started, so I'll ask the question another half a dozen times or so. And on the whole, in my experience, it's easier to any remotely reasonable request from Andrew simply to accede to it. That way you are averting the pain of a long and potentially argumentative dialogue. But why would one want to argue about an event like this? A good fun event, an appreciative event, an event which features and almost has as a hallmark the tremendous vocal chords of the town criers. It's great to have you here. I'm absolutely thrilled that you've come here in large numbers, and if I may say so, I'd better say this point tactfully, spanning the generations. We've got one or two very, very young people here. I'm not saying that we've got anybody here who's old, I'm not suggesting that. We have got people who have notably more mature years, and they're welcome too. And we've got our visitors from Catalonia and elsewhere, and a sprinkling of parliamentary colleagues. So, Andrew, I often say here in Speaker's House, in celebrating great causes, great charities within our local community, our national life, and sometimes in our global existence, that there are two words that we don't say often enough, ladies and gentlemen, and we ought to say more often. They're words that cost nothing, but sometimes mean a great deal. And we ought to say to those who put this event together, including people in my office who helped, but very particularly to those who've initiated and taken forward the idea, led by Andrew, supported by sponsors, backed by volunteers. It's fantastic to have them. And the two words I want to say, with you I hope declaring in support, are thank you. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for your loyalty. Thank you for your loyalty. Thank you for your patriotism. And as far as I'm concerned, if you want to keep coming back to Speaker's House, you're absolutely welcome. It's where you should be to celebrate this great and special occasion. Bless you. Yeah, thank you.
The Foreign Minister of Catalonia, Arthur, is going to speak to us in a moment, but Mr. Speaker has to go before that, unfortunately. But before we do that, I wonder if we could all have a photograph. Mr. Speaker would very much like a photograph. So if Mr. Town Crier and others would like to come forward. Sue, we must have you. Mr. Speaker, you have a fantastic
Should we all stand? Yeah. There we go. After 3, is it? We're taking the official one. 1, 2, 3, 6. This is these protections. She's welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, could I have your attention, please? It is a great privilege today to have the High Commissioner of Australia with us, the Honourable George Brandis, and I would like to invite His Excellency, the High Commissioner, to come forward to propose the Loyal Toast. George.
Thank you very much indeed, Andrew, and ladies and gentlemen, happy St George's Day. It's a great privilege to have been invited by Andrew to propose the Loyal Toast on this important observance of such an important day. Andrew, can I thank you, and Mr Speaker, can I thank you on behalf of all of those who have the privilege of joining you in Speaker's House this afternoon, and I ask you to raise your glasses and toast to Her Majesty the Queen.